Trivia question for you all. What is the biggest movie of 2025? Is it A, Lilo and Stitch, B, Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning, C, a Minecraft movie, or D, Ne Zha 2? Well, the answer is Ne Zha 2, and it's not even close. This movie has earned $1.9 billion, and that is nearly $1 billion more than the second place finisher. There's a good chance you have never heard of Ne Zha 2, or Ne Zha 1 for that matter. It is an animated Chinese film, already the highest grossing movie in the history of the People's Republic of China, and though it did open on nearly 1,000 screens in the United States and Canada, almost all of its money was earned domestically in China. Why is this important? Why am I talking about this? It is just the ultimate illustration for you all, if one were needed, that China is done with Hollywood movies. And they have been for some time, but let's put a pin in that and we're going to back up. We're going to back up to February of 2020. This is when Disney's CEO, Bob Iger, retired after 15 years on the job. It was a surprising thing to happen. I remember I'll never forget where I was when I heard that Bob Iger resigned. And in his place, Bob Chapek, longtime head of Disney's theme parks and consumer product divisions. Now, we have all had a lot of fun dunking on Bob Chapek and on his bumbling response to everything. Basically, my familiarity with Chapek went back way before February of 2020 because I'm a huge movie fan, but I'm also a huge theme park fan, theme park dork, and theme park fans had Chapek as enemy number one for a long time, as the symbol, the penny pinching, money grubbing goblin who was making Disney's theme parks worse. So that was how I knew Chapek. The same month that Bob Iger resigned, Senator Richard Burr of North Carolina published an op-ed reassuring Americans, you don't need to worry about this whole coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic that everybody keeps talking about because the American government has it under control. Your elected representatives in Washington, we are going to take good care of you. Now, 1 week after he published this op-ed, he sold more than $2 million of his stock holdings in advance of the economic collapse that he knew was coming. And if you believe, as I do, and you should, that the ruling class gets like basically a daily memo telling them everything that's going to happen in the world, everything that normal people are not allowed to know is going to happen, you at least think it's like very funny that Bob Iger, you can imagine him jumping off the Disney cruise ship as he stared down the prospect of years of COVID-related decline for the Walt Disney Company. And you think it's even funnier that Iger returned as Disney CEO 2 weeks after the company officially, and I love this, officially ended COVID testing on its cruise ships. Basically, he ran down into the bunker, hid out for 3 years until COVID was officially done. Disney was officially done with Disney, and then he went back to his old job. And that is hilarious. It's hilarious that Iger set up Chapek to be the sin eater for Disney, to eat all the shit that the company would have to endure while the industries that made the company its money as they ground to a halt. But here's the thing. Bob Iger and Bob Chapek, they're exactly the same guy. There is no difference between these men. Bob Iger, Bob Chapek, the Bobs, they're exactly the same. David Zazlav and Bob Iger are exactly the same. Bob Iger, David Zazlav, Shari Redstone, Brian Roberts, these are all the same exact people. I mean, obviously, like they're ghouls, they're grotesques, they're demons, they're fiends. In a just world, they would be cast out of society in shame. But more than that, my point is that they don't actually do the jobs that we say that they do. Obviously, there are differences between these people. They don't all make the same decisions, but the differences are micro. In terms of how they actually behave and in terms of how the companies actually behave, they're all the same. The movie studios are all divisions within much bigger conglomerations that operate based on the whims of the market. They go where the money goes. They act within systems that remove individual human agency. And we look at the things they do and we ascribe personalities to them, ascribe personalities to the company. Oh, this is what Disney's like when Bob Iger's in charge versus when Bob Chapek's in charge. Oh, this is what Warner Brothers is like now that it's being run by Zazlav. But we are just grafting human personalities onto corporations that don't have them, the corporations that are basically the entity for Mission Impossible. The most interesting thing about Bob Iger's incredibly dull autobiography, Ride of a Lifetime, a book you should not read, but I did, is that he doesn't even seem to like give himself any agency in the decisions not decisions that he made, in the things, and then this just sort of happened, and then we bought Pixar. I don't know, because this book that he wrote is mainly the story of 4 big acquisitions that he made as CEO of Disney: Pixar, Lucasfilm, Marvel, and then Fox, or first Marvel, then Lucasfilm, then Fox. And when I read this, I thought, oh, well, you don't do anything, man. At least Michael Eisner was Iger's predecessor. I was thinking, like, at least Eisner, he had a background in movie production. He cared about the creative side of things. He didn't think the job was just about buying stuff. That wasn't only the job. But I was telling myself a fiction, because Eisner, the most consequential thing he did as CEO of the Walt Disney Company was he purchased ABC. In 1995. That was Disney's big purchase, and the purchase that got the ball rolling on Disney's series of just gobbling up all these other companies. The reason that he did this is because in 1993, the Federal Communications Commission eliminated the rule known as Fin-Syn, financial syndication. Fin-Syn rules basically forbade content producing companies from owning TV networks. It was like an official wall. Basically, movie studios can't own TV networks. TV networks can't air content that they own. Well, those rules, the FCC got rid of those. Thank you, President Clinton. Now movie studios were free to buy TV networks. And so they did. And my point here is, like, that wasn't a choice Eisner made. That was an opportunity presenting itself in front of him, and his job required him to make the purchase. The whims of the market required it. His shareholders, his board of directors, the vast inhuman blob that is international finance capitalism made him do it. And it makes all CEOs everywhere do everything, at least when we're talking about companies above a certain level. And it's important to point that out because, like, the nature of the movie industry in America changed in the 80s, like everything changed in the 80s, the late 70s and the 80s. As you know, the American economy deregulated immensely. And now corporate takeover of movie studios that were already giant companies, but now they're becoming arms within much larger corporations. So like Coca-Cola purchases Columbia Pictures. Within a few years, it sells it to Sony. But around the same time, Universal Pictures gets acquired by Panasonic. Warner Brothers, it merges with Time Inc. Later, Time Warner will merge with AOL. Paramount is bought by Viacom. The corporate ownership of the American entertainment industry, the media industry, it all happens here. And it's all due in part to just giant legal, political, and economic trends that are encouraging all these things to happen. And before long, the legal, political, and economic trends and conditions encourage the companies to start merging with each other. And that's why Disney eventually buys Fox. It's why Warner Brothers just announced it's splitting off its TV networks businesses, spinning them off into their own company, which says to me, this is clearly Warner Brothers. David Zaslav's whole job has been prepare this company, strip it for parts, and then sell it to Disney, most likely, because at least in the legal climate we have right now, Disney is technically not allowed to buy more TV networks. So this just gets rid of the TV networks hurdle for Disney buying Warner Brothers. These are not the results of individual choices. They're not even the result of human forces. They're the result of international capital. We tell ourselves that this happens because this CEO was in charge, or that this producer, or that producer, or this executive, but it's cope, basically. It's just a way of trying to make sense of the world, because the world is complicated and scary. It's hard to understand macroeconomic trends, the whims of the market, political machinations, all that shit. And that's boring. It's more exciting and more fun to say this dumbass took charge of the company and ran it into the ground. So back to China, where this all started. So a major change to the movie industry happened in 2001. The People's Republic of China joins the World Trade Organization in 2001. Now, part of the negotiations for the Chinese entry into the WTO is the movie industry of China needs to make big concessions to the American movie industry. China's entry into the WTO depends on America approving its entry. So they start working with the Chinese government. Here's what you're going to do. Here's what we're going to require of you. And the movie industry played a big role here. Movie theaters were being built all over China. It's 1 billion plus population of middle-class consumers. Like, they want to go to movies. There's lots of movie theaters everywhere. They're hungry for movies. And this is in contrast to India, another country with a billion people, more than a billion people, and, a huge middle class. But India has always had its own movie industry, and indeed movie industries for all the many different languages of India. But I think that that's just important when you're contrasting the two, that China had a less mature movie industry, in that like the movie industry just wasn't as developed in China. But it is starting to develop at this point, and people want to see movies. And so America's like, hey, you need to start accepting American movies, because the Chinese government had always had tight control on how many foreign movies it would import. All countries did this. All countries were like, we don't want to lose ground in our domestic film industry, like the European countries, to Hollywood. So we're going to put rules on how many movies we're going to let you play. So this isn't like a uniquely Chinese thing. But yeah, it's the 2000s. The Chinese movie industry opens up to American movies, and American movies start making just a huge percentage of their worldwide box office from China. It is this new money spigot that is open to them. And this creates a feedback loop where American movies need to serve their two biggest audiences, the American audience and the Chinese audiences, their two biggest markets. And this, more than anything, explains the transition to big budget franchises, usually superhero movies or sci-fi, the de-emphasis of movie star driven movies, of comedies, of traditional mid-budget movies. The job of a movie studio executive has changed. Now it's, you need to make movies that are going to satisfy people in America and in China, in New York and in Beijing. And to not do that is basically to not do the job. That's not what the job is. The job is now make movies that appeal to everybody, or at least to the two biggest markets in the world. If you don't do it, you're just leaving the door open for your competitor to do it. So every studio did it. And no single movie illustrates this better than Michael Bay's 2014 movie Transformers: Age of Extinction. It is the fourth Transformers movie. It made $245 million in America, but more than $300 million in China. And it was partially filmed in China and in cooperation with the Chinese government. And that explains this very bizarre moment in the movie that seems to come out of nowhere, where a Chinese general we don't know, suddenly when the Transformers are attacking Hong Kong, he basically says to the camera, the Chinese central government will protect the citizens of Hong Kong. We love you, people of Hong Kong. Hollywood studios, they also produce movies in conjunction with the American government. Marvel Studios is the biggest notable example of this. It gives script approval to the United States Department of Defense in exchange for use of military equipment for filming. This ensures the U.S. government is presented in the best light to both the American audience and the Chinese audience. It seems weirder that American studios are producing propaganda for a foreign government, but it's also weird that they're producing propaganda for the American government. Propaganda for any government is bad. It's equally bad that they're doing it for the American and Chinese governments, is my point. But all of that is just to say, like, the job of the movie studio is now go where the money is. And if you have to make propaganda for the government, that's what you do. These were boom times for Hollywood. The Chinese box office was producing record revenue for American studios. And then something happened. And it is a strange thing that happened. It happened slowly and then dramatically. The Chinese movie market for American movies, it shrunk. It dried up. The Chinese market's interest in American movies was getting much smaller. And there are so many complicated reasons for this. But one of the big ones is the Chinese movie industry itself was maturing. Now China was producing way more of its own films, and Chinese audiences were more excited to see Chinese movies than American movies. And this is also a thing that happens in capitalism all throughout time. Post-World War II, American capital went over to the wrecked countries of Western Europe, helped them rebuild, and then build up an industrial base. And all of a sudden, the industrial bases of the countries of Western Europe were competing with the American industrial American industrial interests. Now America couldn't export as much to the countries of Western Europe, and so it had to go find something else. And this is kind of the same thing that happened here, as American movie capitalism came into China and helped build up the Chinese movie industry. And now the Chinese movie industry has the capacity to produce its own movies. So American movie companies now they're in crisis, a severe crisis. They got to find money somewhere else. But where is that money going to come from? Again, remember, these are just machines. Just chase money wherever it's going to be. So every studio pivots to streaming. Maybe there's money there. No money there. Okay, let's pivot to AI. There's got to be money in AI. Something AI, step 1, AI, step 3, profit. I don't know. But we just learned Disney is going to be building a theme park in Abu Dhabi in cooperation, in conjunction with the government of the United Arab Emirates. This is a country where it is illegal to be a homosexual, where women do not have the same legal and political rights as men. And the theme park is going going to be built by literal slaves. That is not an exaggeration. It will be built by slaves. But as I keep saying, the money's got to come from somewhere. Does this make Bob Iger a bad person, that his theme park will be built by slaves? No. I mean, yes, he's a terrible person. He should be put on a trebuchet and launched into a castle. Parody in a video game, parody. But he's not doing it because he's a bad person, because he has low moral character. This has nothing to do with him. It has nothing to do with anybody. These are enormous, powerful, inhuman blob companies. Human agency plays no role. They just chase the whims of the market. The people that we say are in charge are really just there to push buttons. Oh, the machine is telling me to push this button, so that's what I'm going to push. I'm going to push the Abu Dhabi button. I was going to end all of this by saying that when Disney inevitably buys Warner Brothers, I don't want to see any of you celebrating that, like, the DC and Marvel characters can finally meet up with each other. But, like, honestly, I'm just going to say, fuck it, like, celebrate. Just like, there's nothing we can do to make the world a better place. So just find joy wherever you can. Captain Marvel gets to hang out with Scooby-Doo now, so that'll rule. Yeah, hell yeah. Let's see it happen.